My name is Beatrice Edu. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, we have our regular panel here. I do have on the panel with me Hajia Gloria Menu, National Women's Organizer, United Party. Good morning. Thank you once again for joining us.
Good morning. Looking beautiful this morning.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Of course, I also do have with us Madam Rodelyn Imorayana, Public Interest Advocate. Ma'am, it's always great to have you here. Good morning.
It's always good to be here. Good morning.
You're welcome. And of course, Madam Shamima Muslim as well, Deputy Government Spokesperson. It's great to have you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, indeed. And Happy New Year to my sister. My first time of seeing her.
Okay, this year. Okay.
Yes, the last time I saw her was last year.
You know, that's nice.
Both my two sisters and yourself. So Happy New Year to you too and to the people of Ghana. In fact, this is my first appearance on television or
this year.
So
wow, we're already 15 days.
Indeed, yes. I took some time off.
Okay.
So I'm actually returning to work today.
That's wonderful.
It's a double banger.
That's great. You're welcome once again.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Yes, so perhaps I should start with you, Madam Ayana. And like I said, since morning, we've really heard a lot of, I would perhaps start with you. Since it's your first day at work in 2025, Madam Shamima Muslim, I mean, since morning, we've been talking about the challenge of our transport system. In fact, we started last night where a number of people are struggling to get buses because apparently members of the GPRTU are deciding to move at a particular time so they can charge the amounts that they want to charge. This morning as well, we've heard the frustrations of both workers and students. What do you know about this?
Well, good morning, and as I indicated earlier, just to take a few minutes, because this is really my first engagement with the public this year, to communicate a number of things on behalf of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, the Vice President Professor Jane Nano Pokuajiman, and of course the First Lady, Madam Lordina Mahama, and to say Happy New Year to you, my dear bosses, as well as my immediate boss, the Honorable Felix Kwachi Ofosu, who I'll be seeing immediately after here. But just again on behalf of President John Dramani Mahama, say thank you to the people of Ghana for keeping faith with him. I know many of you listened to his New Year message and also his message on the commemoration of his 1 year in office, a year that has been most challenging but most beneficial and most rewarding to all who have had the privilege to walk beside President John Dramani Mahama as he executes his resetting Ghana agenda. As I monitored the media recently, I came across some commentary questioning what perhaps is the different thing this government has done to achieve the results that we are all very happy about. Not out of the woods yet, nobody has said that, but significant progress all within a year's work. And for those who ask that we have done nothing other than building on the foundation of those who were before us, the question is, and the answer to that question, I see many Ghanaians have answered, the elements within the opposition who have raised those issues. The question and the difference is leadership. And we all agree that leadership is cause and everything else is effect. So the difference between what we have experienced yesterday and what we are experiencing under President Mahama is leadership. A leadership of humility and humanity. A leadership that listens, that concedes. A leadership that has not been afraid to confront difficult challenges. A leadership that's been able to inspire the citizens and rally them around agreeing to some difficult, decisions so we can move ourselves out of the woods. That is the difference. And because of that leadership, the effect today is that you and I can breathe and exhale a bit more easily. You and I have seen stability, and stability is good for business. Today at the pumps, fuel is selling for 10 to 11 cedis. Those are the effects of the difference in leadership that we have experienced under President John Dramani Mahama.
And in the midst of this, people are having...
And we thank, the people of Ghana for that. Of course, my dear sister, it will be preposterous to expect that a country that has gone through such amount of difficulty over the past 8 years would use 1 year to solve all of our problems. It will be a very ludicrous thought, as our opponents are wont to throw into. And we say that the leadership of President Mahama is not one that runs away from challenges. You would agree that during the festive season, when private, transport owners began to extort, literally, from passengers, government came in amidst calling on GPRTU and private transport operators to be more ethical in their approach, especially during those seasons. They also came and ensured that STC released a number of buses to ease the hardships of Ghanaians. At the heart of this government is always being proactive and responsive, but also being long-term in vision. So if you ask me, for us, this conversation goes beyond the visuals you have showed us this morning from areas that have, for historical purposes, experienced those challenges.
So that was Medina.
The bigger problem.
But we had people calling from other parts of the country.
I'm saying that this is not new. The media has a way of amplifying existing situations. You and I, as we drive around every day, we see passengers on the streets looking for cars. And schools have reopened, so the volumes of movement have also increased. The problem is bigger than its manifestation in these, obviously distressing scenarios. And I'll come again to speak about the NDC government under President Mahama's bigger vision for our infrastructure development.
And so you're going to the fundamentals of this problem, which is why there's a need for investment.
Without it, we would just firefight. We would come with temporary interventions to ease the problem. But the real problem has to do with our infrastructure deficit. If you recall last year, President Mahama launched the Ghana Infrastructure Plan, a 30-year plan to take a deep dive into the deficit, the infrastructure deficit across board. It's not only transport, it's also about planning, urban planning, rural, transport movement, the interlinkages, linking even transportation networks to productive sectors that would make those investments reap the necessary benefits. So the Ghana Infrastructure Plan is President Mahama's response to these perennial problems that we see on a daily basis. What does the plan, hope to do? If you listen to the speech of Dr. Nimoy Thompson, he says development is about history. And we must understand our history to be able to understand where we are. In 1965 or thereabout, President Nkrumah, the first president in Africa to have come out with an infrastructure plan, a physical planning plan in 1965, alongside his 7-year development plan, to ensure that we actually planned our physical spaces.
But obviously it's not being followed through.
No country, sweetheart. So that's why we are having this conversation, is it not? It is because we don't follow through our plans and programs that you and I are having this conversation. And so when President Mahama speaks about resetting and bringing back, because look, the 40-year development plan of the NDPC was done under President Mahama Chapter 1. Many people ridiculed it, and this is where we throw the challenge to the media. Because if the media follows the trajectory of other countries and how they were able to lift themselves out of their underdevelopment within 40 years, we mentioned China, we mentioned Singapore, without planning, no country can achieve the levels of development we have seen other countries. So sometimes when these matters come, instead of ridiculing it, we also have the burden to educate the general public that without long-term planning and holding leaders to account, we have put the NDPC there. We pay all of these brilliant civil and public servants, brilliant servants who have worked in other jurisdictions. They come out with these plans and then party manifestos override them. And so President Mahama has committed to operationalizing this latest Ghana infrastructure plan.
So let me come in here. You talk
and
about...
he's even started, yes.
He's even started. There was a reason I said that the Nkrumah plan was not followed through, because there could be...
Because it was a coup.
Yes, and of course, over the years, there have been plans that, we've had, even the Constitution Review Committee's work. It wasn't the first time that we're seeing such work being done. So we have plans and we don't follow through. The reason I said that was because we may have a big infrastructure plan, like the president launched. Where is the starting point? Because they say the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. So where is the starting point that will lead to that long-term fulfillment of an entire infrastructure change in the transport system?
Commitment to budget allocation. The $10 billion Big Push project is one of the levers of the infrastructure plan. That if we invest in our road infrastructure, if we invest in light railways so we can diversify transportation routes, if we invest even in aviation, and that's why there has been a special committee set up to look into the prospects of bringing back a national airline. But the road infrastructure is one of the key reasons, and public participation effectively in public transport, because we refer to it as public transport. In many areas and other countries that have effective transportation system, there's a heavy hand of government. Even though there is private participation, it is made possible. China, it is publicly funded. Their public transport system is publicly funded. Some people say that it's not even self-financing, but the government puts in a lot of money in it. So government needs to set up the policies, and we have heard the plans from the Transport Ministry, from the Roads Ministry. As you know, last year, a lot of sword cuttings had happened, and across many regions, there are road projects that are happening. If you come specifically to the Transport Ministry, it is interlinked with roads. Good road networks would make transportation businesses more viable for private sector to participate. And the digitalization and tolling of roads is also supposed to generate, resources that should directly go into maintaining these roads, and also promoting the purchasing of, private transport. So in as much as we would apologize for these inconveniences, the conversation must go back into publicly educating the general public about these plans, what the sacrifices would be, and what the areas of collaboration must be, so that we implement the Ghana infrastructure plan, which requires huge amounts of capital. But without it, we will have these conversations even 10, 20 years from now.
And I'll come back to you to get a bit more specifics into these
from the investments we are making.
But let me get your thoughts as well, Hajia Amenu, really what you believe the challenges and why we've had to endure this for a long time without any seeming plan, as it were, to deal with it.
Okay, so good morning to our viewers. Good morning to United Party members. Honorable Chief Alan Kujo-Chairman, and everybody. Thank you so much. Shamima has put a very large picture, showed a very large picture on the issue, and I was happy about it. But until then, we are still struggling on our streets, looking for vehicles up and down. So if you see, the whole picture is focused on our streets, the roads, the private sector as well, because even the vehicles we have on our streets are so bad that our policemen sometimes even look just unconcerned. Some vehicles really are not supposed to even be on our roads. So this issue is something that we should look at now. The 30 years plan, waiting for finance and everything will at least take some time. Let's focus on the things that we have now, looking up to the GPRTU being responsible, checking these vehicles that are on our roads, checking their members, so that they will not even charge the people who take the buses. Okay, so all these things, Ghanaians have also to be responsible. I always say that our mindset should, at least, we all have to look at our mindset and behavioral change. The way we treat our colleagues, members, is also a matter of concern. If you are looking at you being a trotro driver or somebody in the GPRTU who wants to use your platform to cheat somebody. We were watching this morning when I realized that some guy was saying there was even pickpocketing in the station.
Somebody said he lost his phone.
Meanwhile, even when you get to Kaneshi Market, the lorry station, there is a police station right there. But all these things are surrounded in such a way that we are all not comfortable in our... You wake up at dawn as early as 3 a.m. and there are huge queues. Some drivers decide just
3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Where?
Kaneshi Market, Takoradi, especially when the schools are reopened. When I was taking my daughter to school last week, from Monday, there was huge queues at the VIP bus lorry station. So immediately we know that schools are being reopened, people are starting work, especially from the long break of New Year. People were rushing to their various workplaces, schools were reopened and all that. And the stress on transportation was so huge. There has to be structures that we know this time there will be huge transport issues when even schools are vacating. So we also have a lot to play as individuals. We shouldn't just always wait for the president, the 30 years plan, the finance to come in, when we can even take care of our own private sector.
Do I hear you say that stakeholders in the sector perhaps have not planned and they don't plan, and so things just happen and everybody is overwhelmed?
Exactly. So especially, I'm targeting the GPTRT or the private sector. All these small groups can also help in maintaining law in their own spaces. So this is the transport fare. Whoever overcharges will be called to account for, and they should also put their ears on the grounds. You even go complain about your luggage being missing. They look and say, we don't even know the car number. Even if you took tickets from there, they sometimes tell you they don't know and all that. So we should all come together and work hand in hand. Yes, some of the vehicles come in, especially I always target this 207 cars. Sometimes they are even not cars that have to take passengers. They are sometimes designed to take luggages, boxes and all that. But you see them part of these associations and they accept them.
But the MTCD is supposed to also be checking as well. Sometimes you're on the road and you can tell that vehicles have not been to the workshop for a long time because of the smoke coming from those vehicles.
Not even the smoke, just the seat. For me, I'm a trotro person. I always, last time I said it here, I usually take trotro from Botiano Hills, mile 11. We use, almost all of us use the Tata bus from mile 11 down to Kaneshi Market. And if you see the state of one Tata bus coming down from the hill, my dear, it's very, very, very bad. The state, but they all plow all these roads down to Kaneshi through a lot of police stops from the road. So we all have to take this as our own responsibilities. Yes, it's not just looking at the officials, government officials to take things in their own hands, but as ourselves, we have roles to play. If your car is in a bad state, at least go and fix it before it comes back to the road. You realize that somebody has parked the vehicle for a long time, waited for people to come in the vehicle before getting to a fuel station to go and fill the tank. Or, I have to go and fix the tire. So all these things, you knew that you were coming to start work in the morning. Why wait for people to even come on board to risk their lives before you take the necessary action?
Madam Ayana, we heard Madam Shamima Muslim talking about the foundational issues that we've had as a country, the infrastructural issues, years of abandonment, and finding ourselves in this situation. Where do you stand on the genesis of this problem and what we need to do to deal with it?
Good morning to our cherished viewers, and good morning to all of us here. You know, I ask myself, do we really have lorry stations? You know, do we have lorry stations? Because lorry stations just come about when 1, 2, 3 buses come and park, and then before long, other buses, other cars, and then it becomes a lorry station. The lorry station, the 37 lorry station, just opposite, just around the
hospital,
the hospital area,
hospital.
the 37 military hospital. It used to be the Workers' Brigade camp. Yeah? It wasn't a lorry station. And then somehow, one day, it just became a lorry station. A lorry station with not enough space for cars to park. Lorry station, no toilets. Lorry station, no resting place for anybody. A lorry station, these are not lorry stations. If we are going to start talking about transportation, let's do it right. Let's get lorry stations, well demarcated areas meant for cars to park, lorry stations, buses. Growing up, you would go to Opera Square, and we've gone back so many years, it's so painful. This was just, we were not many, population. We can just say that population increases, but then it also tells us how bad we have been. We've not been able to keep up with planning. So you would get to Opera Square in those days, and you had westbound, eastbound, northbound. I know that bus 21 is taking me from Accra Central to Medina. So I will join bus 21 and come and stop at 37 and walk to my house. Are you getting me? And I know that if I get to the bus station at about 6:30 a.m., it's going to be taking school children, workers, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. It would have started off about 5 o'clock, 4:30, taking market women.
Yes.
So organized. You understand? So I will never be late for school. Workers in the ministry will also not be late to go to the workplaces. But here we are. Children, school children, market women, everybody hustling for the same. And then we have these small buses, 24, can carry maybe just 24, 36 maximum. What are we doing? Governments have tried. We tried Ayalolo, what and what. It is not helping. Transportation in this country is private driven. And so the private man might not have that much money to look for bigger coaches, you know, and larger ones or more modified and nice ones. They will just go for what they can get. And most of the time, you find tattered buses on our roads. I think that, one, we have an increase in population. That's number one. In Accra, for instance, if you're talking about Accra, and in fact, almost all the major cities in this country, there's population growth. And we have not planned for that. A lot of people working in Central Accra or coming to shop in Central Accra are coming from other areas beyond the greater Accra. So Kaswa, you're coming from Sowutu, you're coming from Weja, you're coming actually even from Gomoa to work. Some are coming from Kofridria to Accra to come and work. How is that possible? What time do they take off? It's something that we have to sit down and plan. Government needs to put in more buses, more buses. And I would suggest that probably we have to do it the district assembly way. Every district must have its own pool of buses and also map out its routes so that we will all get to know that when you are living in Adenta, you can go to a transport yard or a transport station at Adenta this side, join a bus and it's taking you to Accra. or it's going towards Kaswa, or it's going somewhere. Let the district assemblies probably have a transport wing to do that, so that we take it off central government completely. This whole idea of Ministry of Transport, just sitting there, one person at the ministries, although there are other technocrats working around it, but when the trouble comes, we are all walking around looking for the minister. And the minister is not going to be able to do much because the job is on the ground. Beatrice, go around this country and you'll find buses, looking very nice, very new, packed. Why? If you really delve into the issue, some of them, they don't have batteries. Some of them for lack of tires. Some of them for very petty mechanical faults. But because it's for government, people don't even look at it. They feel like, leave it, then they order for a new car, a new bus. They're asking for a new bus. Why? Don't we have groups of people that are responsible to making sure that every morning these buses are checked, that they go to the workshop? Because when you go to the state transport yard, it's there. They're even taught defensive driving. Then they have mechanics to look at the buses and everything. Do you have the same in GPRTU parks? You don't. They just come with a bus. Whether the brakes are working, whether they've changed oil,
the
whether
quality of drivers.
Quality of drivers. Can you just imagine? Some of them don't even have their bath. And they don't have their, and they are driving. Yeah. You sit in a bus and you can't even breathe. Now, GPRTU is a commercial drivers wing of the TUC. So it's a big organization. And I think that they are failing government. I think they are failing government. Because you see, you have to get grip of drivers, commercial drivers. These are things that you must be able to let your drivers or your people know.
Would you say that they are overwhelmed?
Of course they are overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed because they have not structured their whole business. So you have Concerned Drivers Association, Progressive Drivers Association, blah, 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 and then freelancers, those that don't have anywhere. And so they park anywhere. That also creates the traffic. You just find people parking along the roads. And it also creates traffic. You understand? Taxi drivers who are supposed to be freelancing, they go doing that. Okay, so we introduced a taxi ranking system. Where are the taxi ranks? Where are the taxi ranks? People just go and decide to start off a taxi rank anywhere. I can start off a taxi rank in front of my house. Are you getting me? So I think that government has to really, really get some technical advice on the way forward.
Madam Shamima Muslim, you're in government. The challenge is that GPRTU is not doing what is expected to do. Even when it comes to transport fares, fuel prices reduce, members will not reduce it. We've heard GPRTU officials backing members saying that, yes, they need to buy car parts, which prices have not reduced. What new strategy would you say that the government perhaps should be looking at to ensure that in as much as the government is playing its role in bringing buses, like Madam Ayana is saying, GPRTU and other private agencies are also responsible and are towing the lines that would help Ghanaians?
Well, I think that we can't just place the entire blame at the doorstep of GPRTU. I mean, to be fair, because the problem is so complex and intertwined, it requires a multi-agency, multi-institutional approach to deal with. There are intersectorial linkages that we have to, understand and cooperate with. Whilst we understand that sometimes, private institutions can most often be more profit-seeking than the public interest. But in all things, it is a government that must execute how it wants its country to look and feel. And so the institutions mandated with oversight responsibilities over, these sectors have a role to play. If you look at the NDC manifesto, we have a vision of how our public transport system should look and feel like. That's the broad vision. It must be neat, it must be disciplined. So the challenge is with the enforcement of these things, sitting around with stakeholders and agreeing that drivers require regular orientation, that even how you look and smell can be grounds to, suspend your membership of an association. I always throw a challenge at our leaders, because if you are not in a position to transform anything, don't present yourself for a leadership position. Especially when many of our leaders, have traveled far and wide and have seen how efficient some systems are. And people go to other places and say that even the taxis that you sit in, very neat. It does not have to take President John Mahama to come and tell you, an owner of a vehicle, to keep your vehicle clean. It doesn't have to take the president. But if it has to take the president, then let the president's men work with the agencies and institutions like GPRTU to continuously orientate their drivers. You see, you don't have to be rich to take care of the little you have. And it all comes with the mindset and our own interest in keeping things nice and neat. And so that's one of the things that I would say, that it's a shared responsibility. We can't blame everybody. But if you look at the transport minister's response somewhere last year, he did announce that government was going to purchase a number of buses. And we even saw the deputy transport minister travel to somewhere in China and did see the bus. So first quarter this year, 2026, at least we are expecting 150 of the 500 buses for metro mass transport to hopefully ease the immediate, stress.
First quarter, you say. So by March or April, we should see these 150 in the country.
That was what is announced, yes. And with regards to the financing, the commercial bank had been supportive in this. And these buses are smart buses, and monitoring would also be done to ensure good behavior within the buses. Rodaline, I watched videos of, it's not about the laughter. The point you had made about disaggregating transport use. There was early transport solely for market women and rural farmers who were coming into city centers with their goods solely for them. And those buses were recalibrated to provide platforms for them to put their goods, their vegetables, their plantains, whatever they were bringing from the farm centers within the hinterlands to the center. The buses were purely for them. There are also mixed-use buses, of course, because people would move at different speeds. But the plan is, how do we ensure that we roll out all of these, services to meet the needs of Ghanaians?
Let me ask you this very briefly before I come back to you, Hajia. Beyond procuring buses, which could be like, putting a plaster on a sore without really treating it because there are still structural problems. Beyond that, I know that when this government was sworn in, it was something you had promised. You did education, a consultation on that. You did on economy as well. Transport is a major thing, and you would attest to the fact that it's really nothing to write home about in terms of how it operates in Ghana. Do you have an idea whether the government intends to have such a broad conversation as well, just to holistically look at how to deal with this?
I think those engagements have already done. The plans are also there. So where we are now is with financing and rolling out. The engagements have been done. They've been long-term plans that have been reviewed. NaCCA has spoken about it. As you even last year, we even have the preliminary report on the committee that was set to look at aviation. So all transport forms, including railways, which the big push is also supposed to do. And if you look at the Ghana Infrastructure Plan, you see, let's begin to talk about the plan. So when we know what's in the content of the plan, then we know what we are asking our ministers to deliver on. We are reminding them, and they are also communicating to us what progress they are achieving. But the plans are there. The financing is being sought. As you know, this year, this year, we are stabilizing. And so investments are going to only critical areas so we can consolidate the gains. But even with that, what we are doing this year to spread the gains of the little gains we have made is to invest a lot in road infrastructure and hardcore transportation infrastructure to beef up the existing fleet of public transport. Meantime, let me just quickly add, the public-private partnership initiative under the auspices of the Ministry of Finance is already hard at work trying to invite private sector participation in critical sectors of the economy. Transportation is one such critical sector of the economy. Health is one, construction is one, energy is one. And in the coming months, we will begin to see the results of these partnerships. What we have learned, harsh lessons from the previous, times, is with the nature of the agreement. So this time we're ensuring that whatever agreements we are going into, though it has to be mutually beneficial, it is not going to shortchange Ghana at all.
Madam Ayana, I'll come back to you very shortly, but let me get the thought of Hajia Amenu as well. You were talking about the nature of vehicles and you emphasized on it. There are those who say that perhaps the MTTD may not be doing what it has to do because there are police officers who own these vehicles. I know certain police officers who own these vehicles as well. How do you think...
They're coming for you.
Yes, how do you think we should deal with that? Because then if my boss is owning that vehicle, I can't stop that vehicle when it hasn't been serviced or is looking bad.
Yes, so this is not so far from the truth. I've even witnessed on Akaswa Road once when our trotro driver was stopped and arrested. And he said, okay, I beg you, speak to my boss, the owner of the car, who happens to be a police officer. So you are not far from the truth. But then we should also remember that the cars or buses Hajia Shemima is talking about that are coming will also come back to the same stage where we'll park them because of lack of maintenance. I will also suggest that to help this GPLTU or members of GPLTU who own cars, some of these buses which are sitting in the bushes and places because they lack maybe tires, batteries and stuff, can be given to these GPRTU members on a low rate, maybe auction them to them so that they can also own some of these buses. These Tata buses we are talking about from Kaswa, you have to really... I used to work at Prudential Osu, and I was staying at Kaswa, and I have to wake up as early as 3 to get the bus. Immediately it's 6 o'clock, no bus is coming. You have to find your own way. So if they are able to own some of these, and they make good money, they really make good money. You see, and some of them are also responsible. If government is able to get these cars sitting in the bushes, give it to them at low prices, and they are made responsible, I think it's going to go a long way. If we also have the railway, I was happy Shamima talked about railway. If we are able to implement this railway system, before when you are coming from Insawam, the food that was coming into Accra uses the railway from Tema. They were all on the roads. You see, and it was not making the stations or lorry stations so packed. Coming from Tema, early in the morning, you use the railway, and it was a little bit convenient. So I think we should also look at all these sectors. If we are able to help these drivers, make them responsible. Before I was thinking that they used to have uniforms, T-shirts, and they used to have all these unions had their own identity. Immediately you know that this person is coming from Kaneshi Lorry Station or 37 or something. They used to have these Lacoste, and they were being monitored. I don't know what happened. So they should beef up. It's their responsibility to make sure that their members are being responsible.
Madam Ayana, what do you expect in terms of the immediate to medium-term plans or steps the government needs to put in place in terms of the infrastructural bit? And also another bit that a number of people who do not use Churchill also talk about, the Ubers and the boats, the ride-hailing services also charging arbitrarily.
No, they are also the same. chartered cars. They started off with air-conditioned cars, beautiful interior, very polite drivers, and we don't have it again. Suddenly, they've also gone the same way. You enter a boat or an Uber and it's so dirty inside. Sometimes it stinks because they are eating in there. That's where they sleep. You understand? I mean, these are things that are happening, and we have to make sure that we get to the root of all these things and fish people out and punish people. Why should I board a car and come out with a ripped skirt or a ripped trouser? It's not right. But you enter a trotro, if you're not careful, you come down with your skirt ripped. And yet, policemen are on the road. MTT are there. But you see, we need to improve our routes. It's good that government is doing that, improving the routes, which is really good. That should also help the transportation unions to at least have better cars. But then I think that it's about time we looked at assembling these buses like we had Willowbrook. Because if we're able to assemble these buses, we could have them, tropicalized for our own uses. Smart buses, yes, nice, good. But is that what we really need? We brought the Ayalolos, they were smart buses, mass transit buses, but we didn't have the infrastructure on the ground for them to work. Somebody just sat one day and went and brought the buses, and then we now use them as regular buses. We are designing roads. Are we putting in bus routes? Have we thought about the bus routes and all that? And I also think that, just like Kwame Nkrumah did, when you are dealing with a certain caliber of people, where their mindset is such that they are so, some of them can be so vindictive, you also have to go stubborn. You also have to go the extra mile to protect yourself. When we had State Transport Company of Ghana, we had the Citra buses. No other transport union was using a Citra bus. Mercedes, good quality, robust, to go anywhere. So that's how come everybody felt safe in the state transports. And not only that, it helped in the issue of pilfering or cannibalizing, stealing. Because if you stole a Citra part, there was no Citra out there for you to go and sell the part to. But today, the same ones that are being used by the private sector are almost the same ones that the state is also buying. So what happens is that when the private sector person's brake band is off, he goes to the other side and says, can you get, because that's a buying, can you get me this? You understand? So we have to look at that as well. Can we find a way of making sure that we have a monopoly on the buses that we are using for the states, so that we know that our buses are going to have maintenance units where they will be able to look after them, and then the private people are not going to come and cannibalize them or steal parts. And then the drivers, can we really, really look at the drivers that we have in this country? All the accidents that are happening on our roads, not only are the cars rickety, but it's because the drivers too are not well trained. Some of them, they don't even know how to check for little things. You understand? We have to look at all those things. At the end of the day, if we want to be safe on our roads, then it means we have to check the persons behind the steer. We have to look at the body of the vehicle, the engine, and the mindset of that person who is sitting behind
I've
the
heard
steer.
people say that some trotro drivers say, "Yekoshiome guaba." Have you heard that? Yekoshiome guaba.
Yes,
the trotro drivers.
Yes.
So you see them driving, trying to.
It used to be Wakrefie.
And there's something I want to add concerning what Madam Ayana was saying. It's very true, but we as passengers are also supposed to be responsible. I think that you see people always board vehicles, and that's when they sit and eat and leave litters in the cars. And these trotros will always go to the lorry parks and sweep them off and dump them right there.
I've seen somebody eat fufu and soup on a trotro.
Oh yes,
people eat fufu and soup on
in
aircraft.
Some places you cannot, you cannot eat
and then,
in a taxi. You can't eat
in some countries.
In some countries,
In some countries where there's discipline.
yes,
We need to discipline our youth.
Sometimes maybe
Yes, I saw a driver who warned the passengers before the takeoff. So it's very, very important. Even the Ubers, we sit down in the Uber car. By the time the next ride, you watch the seat and you realize that somebody has eaten and left so much on the seat. So we are all supposed to.
When they started, it was not that way. We were made to know that.
So it's we the personalities. Sometimes the drivers.
It's the drivers.
Somebody is dropping. Somebody is picking. Somebody is coming in.
It's the person behind the
And
wheel.
I want us to go to the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment because yesterday the NaCCA had to, people were criticizing the institution over a portion of statements actually made within the teacher's handbook that went out, and a number of people raising concerns. I'll just read that portion to you, which brought this whole thing. And it's under sexual and reproductive health for the teachers. It's, like I said, teacher's handbook. And number 4 says gender identity. And this is how it defined it. It refers to a person's deeply felt internal experience of gender which may or may not correspond with the sex assigned at birth. It can include being male, female, or a blend of both. This concept goes beyond the binary notion of gender, into brackets, male and female, and recognizes the diversity of gender experience and expression. So this went out, and a number of people raised concerns. Of course, we had NaCCA issuing a statement yesterday saying that they had seen that and had corrected and new ones had been printed. Yet critics are still raising concerns about why this was even allowed in the first place before NaCCA would come out. Let me get first to your preliminary thoughts on this whole thing, and then we'll go into the beyond this conversation, what kind of education we need to give our children to ensure that whatever it is they get in the classrooms reflects the cultural and moral values of our society. Perhaps I can start with you, Hajia.
Okay, so NaCCA coming out to even clear the waves is being suspicious to me. Because before NaCCA approves any textbook or teacher's guide, it goes through 8 strict processes. And all these processes, there are people who check these books before it even gets printed. So being so careless, for me to use that word, for the book to even being printed, there's a question mark somewhere. Because you can't, from the one who is writing to submission to clear, it goes through stages. So before it even got to the printing point, there is a big question mark there. So they should come out and really explain to us how it got printed in the first place. Yes, teachers always go through the textbooks, the lesson, the teacher's guide. But that is not what we should be clear for parents to be at ease. That is not what exactly or dito we used to teach the students.
You're a teacher yourself?
Yes, so I'm a teacher myself. So that's why I'm making it clear for parents to be at ease that we are also responsible teachers, that I'm a mother and a teacher, so I will not see that and will want to train my child or daughter or son exactly what I'm seeing there. And what we teachers at the back know for sure is that some of the textbooks, yes, it goes through NaCCA and assessment and all that, but there are certain funding somewhere. Those who are funding the printing or publications sometimes want certain things to be in those textbooks. So it's a whole issue on its own. We all know that teachers will not go and see that and will want to let the children know that you can either be...
You're assuming that all teachers will not do that?
I know for a fact that we are also responsible as teachers, that we will not see that in the teacher's guide and come and tell or define gender identity to the kids in that direction. Yes, so parents should be at ease that most teachers and schools have their own teacher guides And sometimes we even have subject meetings before we even come and train the kids. So yes, it's in the teacher's guide, but that is not exactly what...
Well, NaCCA is saying that has been cleared. And
it's
a
been
new one
cleared.
printed.
Yes, so it's been cleared, but then that should not repeat itself. 2019, there was a controversy about that, and it came and it was cleared. We shouldn't come to that stage again, where in the future we would have to come to address the same issue. That is what I'm talking about. So they should make sure that the processes that textbooks and teachers' guide go through before the final stage, it shouldn't repeat itself. They should make sure and assure Ghanaians, because in 2019 it happened, and now we are in 2026, it's happening again. They should come out and assure Ghanaians that it's not going to happen again.
A member of parliament says that because NaCCA failed, perhaps the bosses should resign or should be sacked.
Exactly.
You agree with that?
I'm agreeing, because that's what I'm saying is suspicious, that you can wait 8 solid stages, and the people, the stakeholders who go through assessment before a textbook is being released or published. It's not even being released before it's even being published. It goes through several stages and stakeholders, and people are being invited to assess before it's being published. So if they sit and make be reluctant, and this comes out, and it was being published before, it's suspicious.
It's suspicious.
Very suspicious. So I think he should even come out and say, "Oh, I made a mistake and I'm resigning." In Ghana, it's rare to see somebody come out and admit that I made a mistake and resign. So,
Madam Ayana, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the director or whoever he is apologized and said that it had been rectified, or it was going to be rectified. I quite remember the 2019 issue. It mostly had to do with our 5-year-olds being taught sexual things. And I think the whole country ganged up and decided that it was not the right thing to do for 5- and 6-year-olds to be taught sexual, reproductive, whatever. And we were told then by the same NaCCA that it was supposed to help them fight sexual harassment in the event that they came across it. I quite remember that at that time, no one was asked to resign. So I found it rather strange that the ranking member for Foreign Affairs would ask the guy to resign. Because if no one resigned at that time when it involved 5-year-olds, we shouldn't be so worried about teachers' manuals.
Are you implying hypocrisy on the part of
I'm
whoever is
smelling a rat. You know, I just think people just want that. There's so much happening that people cannot handle, and suddenly they want to bring issues out. This LBTG, what is something that from last year, if you quite remember, maybe you were not privy to a situation where a gay couple were found kissing at the Black Star Square, just right in front of the Independence Arch. Yes, and by the time people could get to them, they had fled the country. These are all things. That's why I say I smell a rat. It's like some people want to bring back this issue because they think that there is something hidden. I don't think there's anything hidden. Ghana is not accepting these things, and that's it. I even don't want to talk about it because it's gone. 2024, it went to Parliament. It was not assented to by the President. I think they presented it again in 2025. The same thing happened. And now they still want to fight. They don't have it. Some people just don't have any messages. So now they are finding all kinds of things that they know pricks at us. We always don't want to. I mean, sexuality is something that Africans frown on. You know, our culture does not allow us to talk freely about sexuality. So when people decide not to have any messages and they decide to bring these things up for us to discuss, we must just nip it in the bud. You know, yes, a mistake was made. We have told them that it's not right. They have apologized. They are going to rectify it. Let them not repeat it again. That's the most important thing. Because you see, at the end of the day, if you look at what is happening now, yesterday, I think a student and 2 students of, I think, Bremen Senior High School or something were suspended or sacked from school for some things they were doing. Yeah, some things they were doing. All these things are there for us to talk about. You understand? It's even, I mean, we should not make people want to experiment. The more we talk about these things, people go out to experiment. You understand? For a very long time, gayism was not something that we talked about. So it was there, subtle, anything, and everyone was cool. The moment we started talking about it, now we hear of people trying to experiment, just to know what it is that is making everybody talk about it. And it has gone. For some time, it's cooled off. We have tried to at least educate ourselves. We have tried to make sure that everybody understands where we stand. Let's not bring out, these things from the cupboards anymore.
Madam Shamima Muslim, beyond this issue or scare of LGBTQ content in our books, as it were, the concern is also that we need to be able to ensure that the processes which help establish certain kind of curriculums for our students really are rigorous enough that they meet every moral and cultural standard. It's not just about the LGBTQ, but also even attitude, how we are raising these students. How do you expect these processes to function such that when a child is out of school, the child is a complete human being in terms of character and everything that needs and meets the cultural standards?
Well, it's but the child is also living and growing in the world beyond his space. So education is supposed to be holistic. Education is supposed to help you and ground you in your values, to the extent that when you are exposed to other values that are challenging to you, you are able to stand strong in, your own foundational values. Education is not to pretend and play the ostrich in terms of the information and knowledge, that you give to your children about how other people view the world, so that when they come into contact with people who view the world differently from them, they are able to articulate their position in a respectful and, ethical manner. I think that ought to be, one of the grounds for educating. And every country reserves the right to decide what they believe should constitute their national and cultural values, and how they want their children or the people or their citizens to think and behave and engage. So, and it's not an African problem. I mean, like him or hate him, Donald Trump, America of all places, that is both the heart of the LGBTQ advocacy, has a president today who says that there are only 2 sexes, male and female. Does it mean that the expressions of these other gender forms are not happening? They are happening, and people would come into conversations about them. They would come into information about how other people choose. And the fact of the matter is that our children are on the phones. They are on the phones, and they do see the expression of all of these various kinds.
So whether or not they are in the classrooms, they will still see anyway.
They would see it. They would engage at the level that they get access to them. Look, cartoon content are showing some of these things. And so we can insist that our books should have no conversations at all about this subject matter, but we must be able to ground our children that when they see some of these things, they know how to interface with them, because it's all around, even adults. You're on TikTok, pornography pops up. You're on Facebook, you see nudity everywhere. And so it is really the grounding in our strong religious values, if we teach them properly, and moral values that will protect our children. Because really right now, even adults are exposed, and adults are also suffering the similar challenges as young people. Adults are suffering addiction to devices. So it's not only a children's matter these days. Adults are experimenting just as children are experimenting. You know, my point has always been that an adult knows where they can go and access whatever their proclivities are. We shouldn't make it so easy for children to come face to face with some of those things and lose their childhood too early. It's always been and that's why I've always had sometimes a challenge with the advertisement of alcohol on TV, you know, on prime time, that parents and children are all watching, because if you're an alcohol consumer, you know where you should go and get your alcohol.
Yeah.
So it goes beyond just sexuality education. If we want to teach morality and ethical behavior and good conduct, the content on our TV is a major source of socialization for our children. And the habits they are picking up from all of these telenovelas, all of these programs on, so the conversation is broad. And when you broaden it, you see that we all have questions to answer. Policymakers who have allowed the unbridled liberalization of the airwaves to the extent that every content goes, and you are a country that is resetting, you want to build a new Ghanaian, you know, with the right values, and yet every day that Ghanaian is being bombarded by, you know, behaviors and habits and content from other people that is also now shaping our own behaviors and attitudes. So the conversation is broad. The media must know about it. The Ghana Standards Authority must be interested in what we are bringing into the country. The National Media Commission must be interested in the content, because media remains the most powerful tool for social conscientization. And if we're to reset our minds, the media needs to give us content that is edifying, that you know, would bring back patriotism, love for country. What are these Ghanaian values that we are speaking about? Because the child doesn't know it. You don't tell them what is the value of these Ghanaian values. This family system, let's talk about it. You know, home. Let's show, and it must start from home and family and home. So please, the conversation is way beyond what 2 lines are in a teacher's manual. That is the least of the challenges that today's child faces in this global, the global world. But the president position has always been, he is a president for Ghana. He does not support LGBTQ or its advocacy or its expressions. And so for him, this is where the education minister is also publicly communicated his position. Yesterday, the communications
if you could wrap up
minister,
for me, please.
The Minister of Government Communications, my boss Felix, also reiterated government's position on this matter. Yeah. And I think the issue of NaCCA and this matter is closed. Anybody who wants to beat it up has maybe their own peculiar agenda. There are so many important things we must be talking about: ensuring our classrooms are fit for purpose, ensuring that our students in rural areas have desks and furniture to sit. They have blackboards and computers to learn ICT properly and ethically. You know, internet, to be able to also understand the Internet of Things and how to do proper research to back their education. We must give all of these issues as much traction as we give these other matters.
Let me get your 1 minute thoughts on this, and really on the point. I'll come to you, Madam Ayana, for your final thoughts as well. But Madam Ayana has always been talking about the role of parents and society in educating or giving holistic education to our children. You're a parent yourself. Where do you stand on that in terms of really parents playing their role in this area as well? And I'll get your final thoughts.
Okay, so this, I've also talked about it. I think the last time we were talking about we should always be vigilant. And this thing that is running around in town, that is bestie, male having a bestie male, a female having a bestie female, and you see the post on TikToks, and it's a very worrying thing. We parents should also have time to look at what our kids are doing. I am a teacher, I'll do my best no matter what. But how many hours do the kids have with us, the teachers, and how many hours do they have on their own without their parents as well? You see, we are all running around looking for money, doing our own errands, and we leave our kids. Sometimes, even in the house, every time you see mommy on the phone, daddy on the phone, and the kids on their iPad, and everybody is doing what they want.
No time to take care of the child.
No time. Even when we are eating. During dinner or lunch, I tell my kids, put the phones away. And even my first child, before entering university, if it was because of Legon campus, he needs phones to do his assessments and stuff. That was when he got his first phone. You see, so we should be responsible as parents. And I don't know if Shamima can channel this, if the government can also bring a policy where there will be an age limit for our social media. The other countries are doing that. If Ghana can also look at that for us, it's very important, because if you see a child sending you a friend request on Facebook and telling you, sweetheart, you are looking beautiful, and you go to the person's contact and you see the age, it's like something is going on wrong with the youth.
Something is going on.
So we should have a look at it.
But again, I wanted you to, because we're also looking at really holistic education, and when we talk about education, Finland is speaking about the kind of high quality focus, all of that they give. How do you think we need to model our kind of education, just so that we are training people to also deal with problems in society, like we talk about Finland and other countries do?
Well, Finland has got it right. Very good students are the teachers. It's not the other option. You understand? We are mostly having the other option. Finland is having first choice, teaching. You know, you have a first class, you go to teach. Because we are brilliant, you go and teach. But we are having, it's an option. I can't get here, so I have to go and teach. That's the difference. You understand? You know, I feel so sad that some time back, you could walk with your girlfriend, you know, your friend, and you hold hands. You know, we hold hands.
Yeah.
Female to female. You hold hands, you hit each other, you whatever. These days, you can't do it. People look at you with different eyes. But these are normal, natural African things that we do. You understand? And for me, that hurts. That now you cannot. You can't even go abroad and do that. And people will think that you're just being friendly. Maybe they think you're being something else. So I think that the home has to take first place. The technology has come and it's taken over parenting. And these are some of the things that we'll have to look at. It's something that we have to fight, and it means that we have to make time ourselves for the kids at home. You cannot stop your child from going somewhere to go and watch a pornography film or something. But in your own home, you can decide. I remember growing up, 8 o'clock, no TV for you, because that's adult time. So you watch from the 6 o'clock when it was black and white, not even colored, black and white. 6 o'clock to 8, and then that's it. You go, and today our children are watching till midnight because you don't even have control over them. So we have to start from the home. The mindset has to come from the families, from the parents, from adults. You get me? So this is what I think we ought to do. The mindset has to come from us. You should be able to discipline your child. You should be able to talk to your child, to make your child understand these differences of letting a child know that these are our values, these are our moral standing. It all starts from the home. But it starts from the home. So if you are not able to do that for your children, then you are actually leaving them to go out there and learn anything at all. And that's dangerous.
Also, I always say another intervention we always lose out is with the teacher training institutions. Because again, in as much as parents, the home is the basic,
The teachers,
Our
our time
children
is
are
really up.
spending so many hours with teachers.
But the teachers
So
are
we
not
Okay.
from
we
parents.
must
So
understand.
there's a message.
what
There's a
we are
message
teaching the
from
teachers.
Yao Febere on Facebook. It says the students are exposed to sex sensitivity through peers, social media. So if such LGBTQ and its related practice are inculcated in the classroom, like NaCCA has done, it's rather seal of thinking. Well, NaCCA, like I did say, has said that it has recalled those particular or those copies and new ones printed. Let me read this message from Stephen Penwa, who says, "Good morning to your ladies. NaCCA's apology has come too late to Ghanaians. Some few years back stood up against the secret." So kind of saying the same thing that you mentioned earlier. A number of you sending in a lot of your messages, but thank you so much for sending in your messages. Well, that will be it for the big issue here on New Day on TV3. Thank you very much for joining us.